We're back on the channel today and we're back rolling out the transfer content, and I realised that I've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about 2 official signings at Wrexham Football Club and potentially a shock departure that could happen in the next couple of weeks. But would you like to be in with a chance of winning one of the shirts from this season, whether it be the home shirt, the away shirt, or you could wait until the 3rd shirt's out? If you do, then if you haven't seen already, we've partnered up on the channel with Holy, and I'm giving you the opportunity to win one of these shirts for as little as £10. All you need to do, click my first link in the description down below. Every new customer that does order with Holy will be immediately entered into a giveaway of a shirt of their choice for the upcoming 26-27 season. There'll be discount codes on the screen and in the comment section down below. You can save yourself some incredible deals on there. It's a big moment for me. You have made this possible on the channel. I'm excited to be working with Holy. So every new customer that does order from my link will be entered into this giveaway that will be drawn at the end of the month. So if you would like a shirt for as little as £10, you know where to go. We're going to be starting off with Danny Imray. Now, I'm aware I was away last week when the signing of Danny Imray was confirmed. It's the first one of the summer. I was gutted because I usually roll out these transfer videos as soon as they come out, but I was away and I made a plea to Wrexham Football Club and Phil Parkinson not to sign any players in that week, but they signed Danny Imray. The right wing back signs for us for a fee in the region of £5 million from Premier League side Crystal Palace, and in my opinion it's a signing that I think will go down as a great bit of business as time goes on in the Championship season. So what can we expect from new wing back Danny Imray? Now, we've seen glimpses of what he could potentially offer in that friendly match against Sunderland. Of course, we didn't see him in all too many minutes. I think he played that first half or maybe just a bit more, and from what we've seen and what we've heard from West Brom fans, I think we can expect a wing back who's going to be very attacking minded, similar to what we had from Issa Kabore, and he's not going to be one that's afraid to travel with the ball going forward, taking on the opposite wing back. And I think it's going off the theme of the past couple of years. Phil Parkinson adopts that 3-5-2 system with those attacking wing backs, and we've seen it, the likes of Ryan Barnett, Kabore and now Danny Imray. They're all players that are going to be good in the final third, and we've signed a player whose attributes we're going to heavily benefit from going forward opposed to his defensive ones. I think if you are looking at Imray's time at West Bromwich Albion, he's a player that definitely excelled a lot as time went on, and I think he really did thrive in the appointment of James Morrison. Of course, Eric Ramsey, the Welsh manager, did come in for sort of that short stay at the club, and Danny Imray was in and out the team, playing a half of football and then the following game only coming on for the final 5 minutes. But under the appointment of James Morrison, he really thrived and he really showed that he can produce under the right manager, and in the right circumstances and environment he can perform for your club. And I think there was a complete difference between the first half under Eric Ramsey and the second half under James Morrison. He just went from strength to strength, leaps and bounds, and I think if you're looking at statistics, despite only starting 13 league games, he managed to register 12 chances created, 16 successful dribbles and 63 duels won. So he's good going forward defensively, he's strong, and I think in that time at West Bromwich Albion he was playing in a much more defensive role as well. So if you are adopting him in this Wrexham system, he is going to be playing with so much freedom down that right flank. He's going to have the ability to travel forward with the ball. We saw that against Sunderland in, like I said, those short glimpses that we did see, but he was so eager to go forward with the ball and progress, make those inside passes, just make those runs down the line. So I think he's going to be a player like Kabore that is going to be fun to watch, good going forward. I think the only thing that West Brom fans did say is his defensive side to his game does need a slight improvement, but as we saw last season, we've got those covers of the left centre backs, the right centre backs. I think if he's going forward, can create chances, then I think we've got a really good player on the cards. And I think if you are comparing him to last season, there is going to be debate between Wrexham fans between Imray and Kabore, because I think they had similar seasons. Of course, Imray only had that second half of the season in the Championship, but I think in terms of numbers created going forward, I think they were fairly similar. I think if Imray was playing a full season, they would have been toe-to-toe in terms of goals and assists. So I think it is going to be interesting. I think what we can expect from Imray is a lot more consistency, and I think this is the right time for him to get a permanent home, a permanent chapter in his career where he can really kick on now for the next couple of years. And it's an addition that was a big priority for Wrexham. Of course, losing Issa Kabore, going back to Manchester City, we were left with Ryan Longman and Ryan Barnett all through pre-season. Of course, I think those two did really well. I think Longman did well, and I think Barnett did show glimpses as well. So it's going to be interesting what does happen with those two. But again, it was a priority to get a right wing back in that was going to be a starter this season, and we've got that in Danny Imray. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you happy with this one? Of course, we were linked with a whole host of names down that right hand side in terms of the transfer fee, age, and what we can gather from other fans. fans, I think it's a really tidy bit of business. Talking on our second edition, and it's Ben Whiteman. Preston North End captain Ben Whiteman has become our second signing of the summer as he signs on a 3-year deal for a fee in the region of £2.35 million, rising to £3 million in potentially add-on bonuses, cup appearances, promotion bonuses, goals, etc. You know what I'm talking about. It's a good bit of business. I think it's a tidy bit of business. Was it a priority for Wrexham to get a central midfielder in through the door? I don't think so. I think we should have been prioritising that forward line, bringing a striker in, potentially a new wing back, but you can never say no to experience in this division. And like I said, I think it's a signing that is going to raise a lot of eyebrows amongst the Wrexham fan base, as it looks as if at this moment in time it could be a direct replacement for George Dobson. We've seen whispers here and there of some sources saying that Dobson's in advanced talks to join Sheffield Wednesday, and now this morning we've seen that he's going nowhere. So it is going to be interesting. I think given the performances of George Dobson last season in this Wrexham team, it would be a very surprising decision to say the least to replace him with a player that statistically was worse than George Dobson last season in a lot of different areas. And I think given the fact that Dobson was a priority in that midfield for us and we finished just outside the playoffs. So is Whiteman a midfielder that's going to come in that will help us jump into the playoffs? I think it's another question. I do think it is going to be interesting, especially if we do see the departure of George Dobson. Now, if you are focusing on Ben Whiteman, he's a midfielder that is going to play in that deeper role, sort of that Matty James, Ben Sheaf role, which makes me think that he will be direct competition to Ben Sheaf and Matty James. So it is going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are drawing up those comparisons between Whiteman and George Dobson, but I think they're going to be different players in terms of the role that they do play in midfield. So I think, like I said, it's a bonus that we've added more championship experience to this group. Was it necessary? No, but you're never going to turn down the opportunity to bring a player in that's played 5 or 6 years in this division, knows this league inside out. But having said that, I don't think he'll completely transform the midfield. I don't think he's going to be a player that's going to come into the club that's going to get that attacking output for us. I think he's just going to be that player that's going to keep the play ticking in midfield, keep the structure well, and I'm really intrigued to know what Ben Whiteman offers over George Dobson. Let's hope as well that there's no attitude problems involved. We've seen how Preston fans have taken to him after that departure, calling him a snake, money grabber, etc. And I think the way in which he left the club wasn't ideal, and I think possibly could show us the type of character he is. A bit of context surrounding what I've just said about Whiteman and potential attitude problems, behavioural problems, etc. But when this move was in the pipeline, Heckingbottom, the Preston North End manager, and Ben Whiteman sort of had that gentleman's agreement as to what they expect surrounding this situation and what they wanted from each other. And Whiteman apparently crossed the line, and Paul Heckingbottom made references like he's already made his bed, he's put himself in a sticky situation, and he's crossed the line that he wasn't happy with. So it is going to be interesting. Like I said in the last video where I did speak on the signing of Whiteman, we saw a similar situation with Ben Tozer where he was pushing for that departure away from Cheltenham Town. It wasn't anything to do with the club, it wasn't anything to do with the manager, it was purely the fact that it's a lucrative move at Wrexham, there's ambitions here, and I don't think there is that at Preston North End. We've seen the signing of Alfie Devine, but I think in terms of a lucrative offer where you're going to come into a club that is on the rise, that is wanting to push and excel day by day. So I don't think we'll see those issues in the Wrexham camp from Ben Whiteman. He's experienced, he's too experienced at this level to be causing problems and disruptions in the changing room, but I thought that was just something to know. But if he wants to be in this project at Wrexham, if he was eager to get here, then we'll just have to give him a chance. Moving on now to George Dobson. Now, I played down the rumours a few videos ago, but surprisingly it looks as if they're true. We've seen from a few different respectable sources on social media that midfielder George Dobson is set to join League One side Sheffield Wednesday on a season-long loan. This follows after the signing of Ben Whiteman, and I'm shocked. I'm totally shell-shocked by this because it looks as if George Dobson had turned a new leaf at the start of last season. Of course, he was good in that League One campaign, but that Championship season, he had a really strong pre-season. He worked hard off the pitch going into that pre-season. He impressed a lot of Wrexham fans, and that really did just transpire across the whole of the Championship season. In my opinion, he was one of our best players. He was one of our best midfielders last year, which is why I just cannot wrap my head around the fact that Wrexham would be willing to let him go when you've got the likes of Matty James, who's come to the end of his career, Ben Sheaf, who's injury prone. You could guarantee George Dobson was a 7 out of 10 performer week in, week out. He brought that intensity to the midfield. He'd play at 110 miles an hour, and that was good because he'd sort of lost that erratic side to his game. I'm just confused. I'm really confused by this one, and it's strange considering that we extended his contract at the end of February. And I don't get what gain we get from loaning him out to a side, especially a League One side. He has proved his worth to Wrexham fans. He's proved his worth to Phil Parkinson. We know what George Dobson can offer in this Wrexham team, which again, I'm just really confused by this one. I'm perplexed. Will it go through? Will it not? Is another question as well. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think it'd be a right idea to keep George Dobson, or would you look to get him out on loan? I think a lot of you will be in a unanimous vote to keep him at the football club. So yeah, your thoughts are more than welcome because it's a very interesting topic. So that is it for today's video. A bit of a shorter one today, a bit of a brief over the two new signings. Of course, the signing on Ben Whiteman is out on the channel, in-depth analysis on what he can bring, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more transfer news to come. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks. We've got Middlesbrough on Friday. I do expect to see Ben Whiteman, of course, as signed for the club. I do expect maybe one more through the door by the time that game does come around. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Do I think we need a few tweaks here and there? Yes, I think we're still yet to see maybe 3 or 4 players leave and 3 or 4 come into the club. So it's not over yet. Just because the season's nearing doesn't mean Wrexham are done in the transfer window. And of course, if you do want anything from Holy, you can use the code WXM5 for £5 off your order over £14.99. That's your first order. If you're an existing customer of Holy, you can get 10% off using the code WXM. If I'm going to say something, what I would recommend, get the milkshakes. These are an all-time favourite. I've nearly got through half of the packet and I've only been home 2 days. And if I was to give my personal preference, get the hazelnut. It is like drinking Nutella in a milkshake. The best bit about it, 100% sugar-free. I'm so grateful for you guys at home watching these videos that have made this possible. And I'm so grateful as well for Holy for believing in the channel and understanding how well this community is that we've built on the channel. So until the next one, take care guys. Up the Championship Reds.